Hello and welcome to the Squirtle State Championship Preview Show. I'm Mark Rogers. Tonight we're going to visit with 12 head coaches preparing to play for state championship this weekend. This event also being seen live on all the sports animal platforms this evening. So we're going to spend some good quality time talking football with coaches that have had very successful seasons. We're going to begin with the Class C game that's coming up Friday at Southern Nazarene. Travis White is the head coach at Tipton High School. And the Tigers enter on a 26-game winning streak and defending state champions. Travis, what's up?
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you. You guys had a heck of a game earlier this year with this Ryan team, and you get to see them again in the finals.
Kind of strange for me. Coached in several state games, never coached against a team twice. But, yeah, we had a battle. Went to Ryan, very good ball club, very physical game. They had a ton of fans there just for a regular season game. I know they're going to have a large crowd there Friday night. And so, man, it was a battle. I think we got the ball back with 4 minutes left. It was 32-32. Really proud of our guys. Made a lot of plays on the last drive, went down and scored, made the 2-point conversion, and then held them on defense. But it was a back and forth game, very tough. I told Coach Tomberlin right after that game that I thought there was a pretty good chance that we would meet up again after seeing how physical and how well they played. And glad that we've done our part and handled our business in order to meet back up with them.
Yeah, you guys have not given up hardly any points throughout the playoffs this year, just 14 points, and beat a really good Winoka team last week, 54-0. So tell me about the execution of the team and how you guys have played the last 3 weeks, overwhelming all three of your opponents.
Yeah, we've started 2 freshmen on defense pretty much all year. So learning curve there, and then replacing as many seniors as we did last year. Really, overall, it was a learning curve. Our only returning starter had to move down and change positions. So I think you've seen the defense grow throughout the season. I think we learned a lot in the first game against Ryan. And then, you got to have speed to play 8-man football, especially on defense. And I think we've got quite a bit of speed. And so when we do make mistakes, I think we've made up for it. And we kind of have overwhelmed our opponents early and just got after it. Our guys come out of the gate with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. Our guys have been very eager about playing football, and they're ate up with it. And they're kind of young and wide-eyed, and they love every part of it. And so getting that discipline hammered into them and getting them to buy into that has been a challenge at times. But the effort and intensity is always there. So speed and then growing as a group has been a huge part of our defensive success and the improvement that we've had.
You mentioned the following of Ryan. I'm sure you guys have got a great following of your own. So what's it going to be like on Friday when you guys get ready to leave and go up there to play in Bethany?
Yeah, we'll have a send-off here. We've done it several times, so it's neat. It's kind of turned into a tradition. And for us to be such a small town, we've got a great support system. The town will shut down. Everybody will be up there. That's how it always goes. And then I'm a really big fan of having it at Bethany. We played several state games at Weatherford, and Weatherford did a great job. We loved it there, but we've got a lot of alumni, that are in the city that they may make a 15-minute drive to Bethany where they may not make a hour or whatever it is out to Weatherford. So, yeah, I'm definitely a big fan. We played up there, played Winoka up there last year at Bethany. So they do a great job of hosting, those guys do. And so we're looking forward. I think it's going to be one of the biggest crowds we've ever played in front of. So we're looking forward to it.
With the 5 state championships that you've got and playing for another one here in the last 10 years, what is that? How does establishing that tradition lead to building your program and continue to build it with the players that want to be a part of that?
Yeah, I mean, they see it growing up. A lot of these kids were watching when they were in junior high and freshmen, and so the expectations there, just the whole community. So yeah, that's a big part of it. Just watching guys go before and things like playing through an injury that maybe some other schools have to worry about. We don't worry about. If a kid can go, he's going to go, and he's going to hook it up because that's the expectation. And they can see older guys around and say, "Hey, you guys studying your scouting reports this week?" And they understand the importance of the little things like that and getting bought in. And so it's been really fun. This group's been kind of different, kind of new, but it's been fun to see them. The closer we've gotten to this, buy in and accept all those traditions and seeing that influence them for sure.
Running backs come in all different shapes and sizes. Gary Manuel at Sealing is coaching in the semifinals this week, and He was listed at 5'5", 190 pounds when he played at Northwestern, and quarterback to win an 8-man championship at Snyder back in the day. So tell me a little bit about how good Johnny Fernandez is as a small guy, and where he might rank in some of the great players that you've had.
Well, it's kind of funny. Last year, our two running backs were 6 foot 230, both of them, fullback and running back. Yeah, they were big, strong kids. And this year we've got Johnny that's all of about, I don't know. He's not very tall, but he is strong. He goes about 145, 4, 5, 5, probably 140. Played really well against Ryan the first time we played him. I think he had close to 200 yards and touchdown pass and several tackles. He plays safety and a little bit of linebacker for us. And then our other running back, Ryken Schallenberg, he's not much bigger. I mean, he's maybe 5'6", 5'7", 140, 100 pounds or so. And they just run tough. They are very fast. They are very quick. I've been pleased with their physicality though when they're running. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get the job done. We've adjusted our offense some to cater to those guys. Last year we were pretty much straight high and power right at people. And we do a little bit of that, but we're spreading it around. Both those guys catch the ball really well. So that's been a big part of our offense.
They got to catch you to get you on the ground, right? I mean,
that's right. Yeah, our guys know too. I say, hey, don't get in there where those big guys are. You need to get outside and try to get some space in between you. So
do you have a pick on the Big 12 championship game?
I'm a huge OU fan. I've got to pull for OSU. I don't want Texas to win. I mean, I don't want them to go to the playoffs. So if OSU can go spoil it, I mean, I wasn't a fan of the no pass interference call by any means.
Right.
I'm kind of bitter about that, but nobody. I mean, I don't know what OU fan would want Texas to win. I mean, no. So
I think that's a proper answer for an OU fan. I think if you took a poll of OU fans, not many would say they would want to root for Texas in any situation. So
yeah,
there has been a good deal of bedlam talk going back and forth here in the last couple of weeks, though. So that's a good, healthy discussion, I think.
Texas can lose every game as far as I'm concerned. I don't want them to ever win. So, yeah.
Travis, thanks for your time, man. We wish you the best of luck this weekend and look forward to talking to you soon.
Hey, thanks, Mark. Appreciate you guys.
You bet. Travis White, the head football coach at Tipton, going into the state championship game this weekend, 13-0 and on a 26-game winning streak. All right, we have the opponent for Tipton coming in, Coach Tony Tomberlin with the Ryan Cowboys. Been a great season for Ryan, 12-1 this year. That only loss in that great game that we talked about earlier, 40-32 to Tipton in district play. Tony, how you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Congratulations on making the final. I know that game went right down to the wire, so I'm sure you guys would relish to have another shot at maybe getting a different result.
Oh, sure. Anytime you got a chance to have a rematch, especially in a game of this magnitude, is pretty awesome feeling.
What's been the difference this season in turning it around? I think 12 wins is the most that Ryan's had in a long time, maybe going back to the early 1990s. And so what put all the pieces together for you this year?
Well, we've been pretty young. We still have a lot of sophomores and juniors. We've got a fairly small senior class. And, our seniors, 2 of our seniors have been with me since they were freshmen. And, we've just kind of built on that youth over the last couple of years. The kids, they come in, they work hard. They really enjoy playing football and just good, hard, hard-nosed kids. I mean, they just really, really enjoy playing football.
How many players do you have out this season?
21.
Is that a pretty high number for you guys typically? I would think so.
It is. I think back of when these seniors were freshmen. I think that was the COVID year, and that's when everybody got to go to the playoffs. And I think we had about 13 kids. And, so they've went through quite a few growing pains over the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, it's exceptional. If you, like you said, you go back to that COVID year, that was a year in which you guys won 1 game and those freshmen stuck with it to turn it around. So that has to make it all the sweeter to know that you've only lost 1 game and are going to the state finals this year.
Sure. Yeah. Our freshman, Rayson Williams, he was our starting quarterback on that team that year. Our starting quarterback had went down with an ACL injury in our first scrimmage, and Rayson stepped in as a freshman, has been a starting quarterback ever since, so it's a big thing for him.
Is it different in the 8-man game of where you try to assign position for guys, because you don't have necessarily a ton of kids to choose from, and you certainly need some strong kids up front. But how do you work through that and figuring out where a guy's going to fit best on the field?
Well, like Coach White said, a lot of it's just speed. Where you can put your speed at, and the unfortunate thing for 8-man is usually when you have an injury, you're having to move 2 or 3 people to replace one. And, that's kind of the issue we got into that first year was, by Racing stepping in, we had him playing at an X receiver, and, so we had to move him to quarterback and then move another kid to the X receiver and then another kid to the tight end. So, I mean, when you have small numbers like that, you're normally switching, 2 or 3 kids to replace one.
Tell me about some of the personnel on your team. Carson Rodriguez and Noah Torres, both those guys are close to 1,000-yard rushers, and Carson is over 1,000.
Sure. Yeah, Carson is a junior. He's pretty quick kid, pretty strong. Carson's about 5'10", probably goes around 170. Got a lot of speed. He's a downhill runner. And, he's one that's been with us and loves the weight room and is never misses a workout, never misses a practice. Just one of those kids that's just a joy to coach. Noah, Noah's a freshman. He's new to us this year. And Noah is all around 6 foot, maybe about 160. He's more of got breakaway speed. Kid can hit the corner quick, and he's got real good vision. I mean, he has real good cutbacks, and he does punt returns for us and kickoff returns, and he's extremely important part of our defense. He's had several interceptions this year, and I think he's got 3 or 4 return for touchdowns.
I would assume the community is pretty fired up about this. Having not been to the finals since 1990.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories for alumni for sure. They can remember the days back when Ryan was, we had 5 straight state runner-ups from 87 to 91. And so all the alumni are pretty excited. And the town is, we had a huge turnout last week in the semifinal game against Timberlake. Expect to have even more this week. And like Travis said, this is probably going to be the biggest crowd that either team has played in front of, if not ever, in definitely a long time.
You guys have had some tough competition in the playoffs against a good team from Wilson, and then also last week with Timberlake, who's just an incredible program in Class C. Coach Severn has been the head coach there for almost, I think, close to 30 years.
Sure.
What is it good for this team to have some of those games that you guys are in it until the very end rather than having a 45-pointer?
I think it is. We've kind of talked about that this week. Tipton is, of course, they're a phenomenal football team. A lot of respect for them guys over in the programs they have. And, it's just, us having to play full games, maybe a little bit more in game shape. I don't know. We'll see, but definitely playing, Timberlake last week. And, they got such a great program up there. And like you said, Coach Severn has been there for years. And, they just basically do the same thing every year. Those kids it's ingrained in them. And, it was a tough ball game. And we had our chances to kind of run away with it at certain points in the game. And we just kind of let them get back in it. But I do think I think it is beneficial having to play a full game.
You got a little shorter trip to Bethany than your counterparts at Tipton. What's the plan for Friday?
Well, like Coach White said, the town's basically shutting down. Saw on Facebook yesterday where the bank's going to shut down at 3, so everybody can go. We'll turn out a little bit early at school and have a send-off and a pep rally and all that kind of stuff. And then, I try to keep things as normal as possible. I don't, we'll still arrive at the same time and leave, at the same times that we normally would. And, I don't want anything to be necessarily out of the ordinary for the boys.
Now, will you guys get a special, any kind of special Chuck Norris attention or love for this?
No, that unfortunately Chuck Norris don't think about Ryan a whole lot anymore. I don't think we don't hear a whole lot from Chuck Norris.
Now if you're going to go out to dinner, where are you going? I know you could go to Waurika But what's the closest place to go out and enjoy a nice evening meal?
Well, Duncan is just a little bit further north of Warrika. And then a lot of people around here either go to Wichita Falls or Bowie, Texas, or Nocona. That's really our choices around here.
Give me the best place that there is if you got to cross the border.
You got to cross the border. Well, a lot of people go down to what's called Spicy, which is a Mexican restaurant in Nocona, and that's where a lot of people go eat. I usually don't cross the border unless I'm going to Wichita Falls, and so I try not to cross that border any more than I have to.
So, can you give us a pick on the Big 12 championship game on
Saturday? I got to go right there with Travis. Yeah, I'm a huge OU fan. Even though I wear orange and black and we're the Cowboys, that pays my bills. But I'm a huge OU fan, and I've got to be rooting for OSU. I mean, that's just I can't see Texas winning.
Well, good. Well, hey Tony, congratulations on the great season that you guys have had at 12-1, and we'll look forward to seeing the game on Friday. And best of luck to you.
All right, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
You bet. That's Tony Tomberlin at Ryan High School. That will be a good game. Again, that one was a rematch from a game in the middle of the season that Tipton won in the final minutes. 40-32 was the final in that one. All right, we're going to go all the way from Class C to the state's largest class, 6A Division I. The Jinx Trojans are in the championship game, and that is no surprise. Keith Riggs joins us, two-time state champion, great player at Owasso High School back in the day. It's been a while, but we're a couple old guys here, Keith.
Yes, that was a long time ago.
Hey, congratulations. What a great win last week. You guys got down 21-0 against Union. So tell me what it was like and what you were talking to your kids about at that point.
Well, you never planned to go down, right? Spot them 21 points. But you talk about adversity all the time. You try to work at some form of adversity in your practices. So we just dealt with it like we have in practice and other games. You got to go out and play the next series, and, keep climbing. You can't think about the scoreboard, whether you're ahead or behind. You can't worry about the scoreboard. And our kids did a great job of that, of just continuing to battle. And kind of got back in the game late in the first half, and then a big kickoff return to get us within 3 right off the bat in the second half.
So I know Bixby's great at forcing turnovers. You guys did a good job with forcing some turnovers as well. Is that one of the key elements in this game? And some turnovers are random fumbles, perhaps, but maybe you can scheme up some coverages where you guys can get in there. And I know Coach Gaylor's really good at doing those kind of things on defense. So do you focus a lot on how can we create some turnovers here to get some extra possessions?
Certainly do. Coach Gaylor puts a big emphasis on takeaways with our defense. We do takeaway circuits, for all sorts of ways to create fumbles, to get interceptions. And it will be a big factor, I think, Friday night.
How important is this game to your kids? You're the only team that's beaten Bixby in what seems like about 500 years. And read Bill Hastings' article that said you guys are not intimidated by this game and have played very well in this series. What's the secret to that?
Well, I don't know. They run a kind of a unique offense. It's not something that you see week in and week out with their tempo, all their motions and shifts, and they're really good about, causing bad eye discipline, I guess is the best way to put it, with defenses and getting you misaligned. And so we've played them every year for, quite a long time. So we've seen their offense, I guess, more than most teams have. And maybe that factors in that it's not quite the shock to us as maybe it is to some schools that don't see that regularly. But our kids are excited. They're excited every time that we play Bixby because it's a chance to go compete at a really high level. And hopefully we'll be ready to do that again Friday night.
Can you describe this rivalry for me? I mean, is there any way to describe it?
Well, I don't know. The last several years, the games, have just been so exciting. 20 and 21, really exciting games. then 22 last year on ESPN. I mean, that was just an unbelievable high school football atmosphere, everything about it. And so all that kind of leads up to, you just adds to the excitement of this game, Jinx versus Bixby, but then also for the state championship.
No question about that. Tell me a little bit about some of your personnel. I know Owen Jones is a first-year quarterback for you guys that's been able to guide this ship for you this season.
Yeah, Owen has done a great job this year. He gets better and better every week as he gets comfortable with what we do offensively, and has had some really good games here in the playoffs. We've got what we feel like is a great receiving core. All of them can make plays. Katie Jones, everybody knows about him in the backfield. Samaj Stanford, a young freshman that doesn't play like a freshman, as a backup tailback and starting safety. And our offensive line has really come a long ways this year from the beginning of the year to now.
Tell me about Stanford, too. His brother, correct, was a great player for you guys. Is that right?
He was.
Yeah.
He's playing for Houston now. Outstanding player here at Jinx and is continuing his career down in Houston. Samaj just turned 15 last week. Again, does not play like a freshman. You would not know it probably if you just watched him play, but has done an outstanding job at safety, and we're getting him more and more involved on offense as well.
You got to have a designated driver for him to make sure he gets to practice and gets to the game. He can't drive to get there, but that's got to be pretty rare for a player that's only 14 to play in such big games as he does here at Jinx.
It's very rare, for a skill player to play at that level, at the 6A1 level, and shows no signs of being a freshman. It does just an outstanding job.
I did want to ask you, you guys at the beginning of the season, you had a tough schedule. You played Edmond Santa Fe, who's got a good team down here in these parts, and 8-4. Sometimes you've had teams with better records there at Jinx. So was some of that early season adversity key into, I assume you guys feel like you're playing much, much better right now than you did at the beginning of the year?
Absolutely. Our biggest issue early in the season was just consistency. We showed flashes of greatness, I think, early in the season, but, would make some really costly mistakes in games. And so we've cleaned those up as we've moved through the season. We're playing much more consistent. We're playing at a high level throughout the game. And so I think that's the biggest thing that's kind of got us moving in the right direction, is just we're much more consistent as a team.
Keith, I know you said you're just walking into the office. I assume you've been practicing and watching some film and doing all that stuff. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time. We know it's valuable this week, and we wish you best of luck in the championship game against the Spartans.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
You bet. Good to talk to Keith Riggs, the head coach at Jinx. 8-4 this season, and going back to the state championship game, won it in 2020 and in 2021. So they've done a good job and swept their rival Union this year, won the regular season matchup, and then won the playoff matchup. Let's take a look at the bracket here in Class 6A Division I and show you how we got to this spot in the season. Bixby with the bye in the first week, and the Spartans have just been outstanding in the playoffs so far. Had a big second half against Owasso last week. They had an explosion on both offense and defense with some long touchdown runs and turnovers that propelled them past a really good Rams team that was a game opponent. Of course, any team that's coached by Bill Blankenship, you can expect to be solid. On the other side of the bracket, you look at Jinx. They were able to avenge that regular season loss to Edmond Santa Fe that came early in the season, and then able to knock off Union for the second time to get to this state championship game. And there's, again, Jinx and Union for a long time was a great rivalry in this state, but I think right now it's kind of been surpassed by this Jinx-Bixby rivalry. So let's go to Lauren Montgomery, the head coach of the Bixby Spartans, state championship game again. And we're just talking about that second half, Lauren. You guys did some great things on defense, 4 interceptions overall in the game. How was your defense able to take advantage of those mistakes?
Well, I think we got a little bit of momentum in the game, and we're able to just force Owasso into must throw type situations, and our guys were able to pin their ears back and be really aggressive. Mark,
this is a week in which you guys, an incredible testament to your program, is almost become routine. I mean, you're playing for state championships every season. What is this week like for you? Is it basically, is there kind of a carbon copy of what you've done in the past? And how do you handle this week to get prepared for the game?
well, first off, we try to make it as routine as possible for our players, just to eliminate distractions. We have a press conference on Monday during the week to get a lot of those things out of the way with the players and the media out at practice. And so we do that, and then we get right into it with the game being at 7 o'clock on Friday night. It's really kind of business as usual. We've gotten to play on the other side of the state a couple of times in our district schedule, and so our kids are familiar with the travel plan. And other than it being the last game for all the marbles, our preparation, we try to keep as routine as possible.
Is it a challenge going up against an opponent that you know so well and they know you well to try to look for some wrinkles in this game? Is that something that you look forward to, or is it just kind of like, here it goes again?
It is. It's a weird dynamic, since 6As have split, and really, just with the size of Oklahoma, the majority of my coaching career in the last 24 years, there have been a lot of rematches when you get into the playoffs, and so it's kind of one of those deals. Well, we had success with that the first time, so certainly they're going to work it and prepare for it and probably take it away. But do you run that play? Do you run that scheme, or do you completely change that? So I think there's some psychology that goes into it, and just the familiarity, playing like this will be the fourth time in really about a year that we've played Jinx. And so the kids all know each other. We know, which guys have played extremely well, what's been successful. And so it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
Tell me about Hank Puckett. He had surgery on his finger, and then I thought, well, that means he must have missed a couple of games, but he continued to play.
Yeah. So first off, I've got to credit Hank's parents. They are athletic people. They get it. And I got a call from Hank's mom after a Monday practice a few weeks ago, and Hank thought he had broke his finger in practice, and so they took him to the doctor, and so it was one of those deals where he had broken it, but the tendon had also pulled away from the bone, and I've had a few of those in my career with players, and so they have to do surgery in a certain number of days, or they lose function of that thumb, and so actually have had players miss good parts of their season for it. And so she said that, hey, coach, if we time this just right, and Hank's going to play in the week 10 Jinx game no matter what, she said, but we have that surgery scheduled for Monday after that, so he can have that, and then he can't put a cast on it for 10 days because they won't put a cast over the stitches. That will be the Thursday before the first round playoff game if you guys get a bye, and he won't miss anything. And so they planned that and worked that perfectly. And, aside from having to play with a cast, Hank continues to be super productive and didn't miss a beat.
Cord Nolan also was big for you guys last week. He scored on offense and had a couple of key turnovers on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Cord is a sophomore that doesn't play like a sophomore. He was up with us last year as a freshman. Is dynamic, and he's dynamic when he's on both sides of the ball. And yeah, he scored on a play action play and early in the game that gave us a lead, and then later on in the game, he was at outside linebacker and carried a wheel route and really made a circus catch. And so he's got excellent hands. He's got excellent speed. For a tight end, and really he's just kind of one of those football players like you see at this time of year in Oklahoma high school football. You could probably play him at any position, and he could be one of the best players on the field.
I assume it's not easy for a sophomore to get a whole lot of playing time at Bixby.
Well, no, generally when sophomores play for us, they're usually special guys, and that's just what he is.
Tell me about your quarterback situation there. Last week, you had all three quarterbacks score. in the game. You've got some depth at that position. Does that give you kind of a peace of mind knowing that you can have people step in?
Yeah, it does. The last few years we've kind of we've had several guys that are very talented quarterbacks, and we decided that we kind of enjoyed playing multiple quarterbacks and like it and try to build our offense around that. This year it just so happens that we have three quarterbacks that are doing really good things, and yeah, I mean, if one guy doesn't have the hot hand, each guy's able to run all the different packages and personnel groups, and so those guys are playing at a high level. Carson Kirby's just a sophomore, and he's doing really good stuff. Takes the majority of the reps. Clay Peters starts at safety, but also takes a significant amount of reps and has a very high completion percentage from the quarterback position. And then Cooper Parker, who's the starting inside linebacker, had a pick six last week on the defensive side of the ball. Is our 22 personnel quarterback. So those guys each have a niche and do it extremely well. But all three of them are quarterbacks that throw the ball very well and can run really anything that we do in our offense.
Well, I'm glad I'm not preparing to play your team this week. So, I mean, I'll rest easy tonight. But, Lauren, thank you so much. You've been gracious with your time all year, and we wish you guys the best of luck in the game coming up against Jenks.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you guys highlighting our program and highlighting high school football. That's very special, and it's an honor to be on here with you guys.
Thank you very much. Lauren Montgomery, the head coach at Bixby, going for another state championship. Incredible what that program has done. All right, we're going to drop down to the 6A Division II level. This has been a great class this year and two unbelievable games last week to produce these two finalists. It will be Stillwater taking on Muskogee. Travis Hill is the head coach of the Muskogee Ruffers in his third season as the head coach. There's the defensive coordinator before. Travis, what's going on?
Good to see you, Mark. Doing well. Good to touch base with you guys this evening.
It's good to talk to you. You guys played in Ponca City last week against Deer Creek, and it came down to the final 20 seconds. I know you're a defensive-minded guy. You had to be really proud of your squad to get that stop on a two-point conversion that could have flipped the score.
No doubt about it. Felt good about it. It's wonderful to watch the kids have success. It's been a long time coming from Muskogee, Mark. So it was a very, very exciting time.
It has, but this is the first state championship game going back into which with Muskogee, I think, faced Midwest City and Mike Gundy in 1986. And so tell me about taking over the job and then what it took to be able to get kids out for football. You got a new stadium there, and so I'm sure a lot of excitement has gone into that. But you got to feel proud of where this Ruffer program has come from.
No, Mark, the kids have come a long way, and it's fun to watch that. Administration there with Dr. Mendenhall coming on board, big changes as far as the stadium. It's hard to believe the Indian Bowl was ever put away, but, sometimes you got to move on and set a new legacy. The new Ruffer Village is wonderful, great for our kids, great for our community. So that environment and the kids, the willingness to change, the willingness to add on, and, I call it, non-negotiables. They were willing to buy into that stuff, Mark. So it's fun to watch that, and hopefully they'll get the opportunity to reap the benefits from that.
Yeah, I think I broadcast the game from the top of the Indian Bowl press box before, so I'm sure the Ruffer Village is a big upgrade. Tell me about Jamarian Ficklin, nicknamed Bird, I guess, but his statistics are incredible every week, and you've seen a lot of good ones. Tell me where he ranks in some of the kids that you've coached.
Well, that's great stuff. No, I would say that been fortunate to coach a lot of good ones. You're exactly right. Randy Palmer, our state championship quarterback in 2005 over at East Central. Several of the college kids that I was able to coach at that level. Seen a lot of great ones. Jamarian, I think, is I'm going to rank him as number one. For one, he's our quarterback right now, but he is a spectacular, fantastic athlete that throws the ball as accurate as anybody I've seen, spins the ball deep, intermediate routes. This really special kid, too. He's a leader, Mark. I mean, he's our guy. And like I said, Coach Hill's a good coach and you got good players. He makes you a good coach. So, he's a junior. I think he's fantastic. I think he's got a lot of football left ahead of him.
And then a really easy transition to the Division I level. I mean, because he stepped right in as a freshman and played there for you guys.
Yeah, he did. He stepped right in, and we I don't want to use the word we babied him around, but we were smart and intelligent with him as we went into the growing process in the program, and now he's matured and And we put the full package out. He's able to run the football effectively, throw the football effectively. This really makes us a dynamic offense.
What did you learn in your first meeting with Stillwater earlier this year? You guys played the final week of the regular season and district championship. The last 2 years has come down to you guys' game.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is you can't leave 3 possessions inside the 10 and walk out with 0 points. You're not going to beat a whole lot of people, especially a very good Stillwater team. So we better find ways to make sure. Our problem has been Mark in big games, and that's part of the process of a growing program is to understand that you got to take care of the football. I think we had 4 losses there, and if you look at the turnover to takeaway ratio, it was 13-1, 13 turnovers on our behalf and 1 takeaway. So you're not going to win big ball games on that side. So I think that's probably the number one thing we need to take away, and just being familiar now with Stillwater. They've been here, they've been in this game. Friday afternoon at 1:00. They were here last year, 13-0. Won it. We haven't been there. So I think us playing them now kind of helps us because at least we're familiar with one thing. We're familiar with our opponent.
What's the town of Muskogee like? I'm sure they're all fired up. It's a football town. You got a lot of tradition there, ready to go see this game.
Yeah, you know it, Mark. You said it is a football town. I was very fortunate when I got the job, one-horse town. As far as Muskogee Ruffers are the show. And so the community is very excited about it, Mark. You got them coming out of the woodwork, and all the former Ruffers. Like I said, there's ton of tradition there, as you well know, a ton of great football players that come out of Muskogee, Oklahoma. So
it's been a good week with Seth Luttrell getting the offensive coordinator position at OU. So
yeah,
I'm
we
sure
found that out last night and had to keep our mouth shut because it wasn't, it was official, but it wasn't official on the board. But it's great to see Seth. Congratulations to him. Like I said, a former Ruffer, tough young man that come out of the Muskogee as a fullback and linebacker and played for the University of Oklahoma, no doubt.
If I'm coming to Muskogee, where are you and I going to eat? If you don't want to just single out one place, you can give me a couple.
Well, you're going to get me in trouble there, man. I got a lot of people there. I got to support us. But, hey, I'm going to tell you, you go to Runt's Barbecue. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. They host our radio shows on Tuesday night. So every Tuesday night I go home, which was last night, full bellied up, brother. Whatever you want. Anything on the plate's good, brother.
Okay, I was going to ask you what's the best item, but I'll go with the burnt ends if they've got that. That'd be my favorite.
They got it. They do, and they're very good. Well chosen, Mark. Well chosen.
Thank you. Travis, it's good to talk to you. We appreciate your time. I know you're busy this week, and good luck.
Hey, man, you guys, the same thing Lauren said. We appreciate your coverage, appreciate your support in high school football and everything else you guys do. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Happy to do it. That's Travis Hill, head coach at Muskogee. Got the Ruffers in the state championship game, as we said, for the first time since 1986. All right, Stillwater is in their first state championship game since 2022. They're the defending state champions in the Class 6A Division II, won the championship last year and finished a perfect season undefeated. Chad Kaywood is with us, certainly a veteran at Stillwater, but in the first year as head coach. What's up, Chad? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We talked to Travis about how exciting their game was last week against Deer Creek. They won it in the final 20 seconds, and you guys were down in the second half and had a big third and fourth quarter to come back and win that game against a really good Choctaw team.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those roller coasters. We get up 14-0, then they go on a run, and they're up 29-14 going in the fourth quarter. And, but our kids just kind of stuck together. It's not too often we've been in a situation where we've been down like that, but we just kind of kept chipping away. It's kind of what we've talked about since we started this thing 0-2 back in week 2, and just kind of focus on us. And they did that. And then, we go get that score to go up, and Choctaw does a good job driving the length of the field. And our defense came up big there at the end, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I don't know how much you had involved or were involved with scheduling Greenwood, Arkansas. That may have been Tucker's fault, but that I'm not sure that they've lost. And so I love that. That was a great game between two top programs in different states. They got you guys in week 1, but they're a great team. What's been the difference since losing those 2 games early in the season to bounce back?
Early in the season like that, there was so much turnover there in July and early August, and, getting the job late in July. And honestly, I've been here forever and been an office coordinator and coached the O-line, all that, but you really don't know how to be a head coach, things like that. And, it's probably better this way. You have the off season, you run a million things through your head, and we just had to find ourselves. You know what I mean? I asked Coach Nichols to run our defense that we've run here forever, which is not what he's done in the past. And, it just took us some time. The kids had to learn how we were going to do things here, which wasn't much different. What we've done with Coach Barnard was successful, but just the way, You know, it wasn't Coach Barnard in front of him talking. It wasn't this guy in front of him talking. And, you know, we had to learn how to call the defense, you know, with the new D coordinator. And so it took a little bit of time. And, you know, our kids never flinched. You know, we lost 2 games to start the season. We haven't lost 2 games in a season in a long time, you know, and it's one of those things to where they stayed focused. And we started talking about, you know, it doesn't matter. We got to take care of us. We've got to focus on one play at a time. What are the details of it? You know, and just do your job. And if we each do that, every person on the roster, not just a starter, if we each do that, we can get this thing turned around and we'll see where it takes us.
First time in a long time there had been a Gundy taking snaps for you guys. Chance Acord has done a really nice job. He played last year for your friend Lynn Shackelford at Cashion, has made the move pretty seamless from Class A up to Class 6A.
He has, and you know, you're right. We've had a Gundy for a long time, and we had a really good one sandwiched in between for a year there. And but Chance has come in, and he's a worker. He's fit in great. He's made a lot of plays for us. But you know, he's just your typical high school kid that, you know, he's a competitor. That's what he said from day one was, you know, we got to Greenwood, and it wasn't very good. You know, on my part as a head coach and us as a team, and all he cared about, and that's the consistent thing we have with the Gundys and the Quantrell Walkers and people like that of whatever you need me to do. If you need me to play safety, receiver, quarterback, I just want to win. And when you got kids with that kind of attitude that are in your program, it's pretty special.
I would assume the same thing you could say about Holden Thompson. I know he's been around for a long period of time, but when I look every Saturday morning or Sunday to see who's had big games, I mean, he routinely has showed up over the last few years.
He has. You know, he's our starting running back as a sophomore and had 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns, and then he had an unfortunate injury, missed his junior year. And but he's just a relentless worker and loves the game. And you know, and every day he brings it in practice. And sometimes you don't always have your dude or your star player that is willing to do that, and he does. And he's a guy that's going to carry the ball 30 times a game. And you know, he's in some certain packages on defense for us. And you know, between him and Talon Kendrick and Josh Ford, and I'll miss some names, but we've got a nucleus of some special kids there that kind of lead the way for us.
I think I saw that Talon Kendrick is going to go to Oklahoma State today. Maybe that's
a break. Yeah, he's going to Oklahoma State on PWO as a kid that's grown up here forever, and that was his dream. And he had a lot of really good D2 offers and some small D1 offer type stuff. But that was a dream, and when that came through for him last week, and you know, we sat down and we talked about it, and it's something he wanted, and said, "Go chase it, man. Go do it." And it's really exciting for him.
If I look back here at Muskogee over the last couple of seasons, they've been held under 30 points very, very few times. You guys have done that in both of the last 2 meetings. Do you look over there, the defensive room, and see what they're trying to do to stop their explosive quarterback?
Well, you know, that was one of the first adjustments I had to make as head coach. You had to realize there was more than one phase of the ball. You know, I coached offense for a long time. So, yeah, I do spend time over there with them, but they do a good job. It's not any more than just for I need to be there, you know, as the head coach. But, you know, what's happened the last 2 games, and we played Coach Hill back in 2016 when he was at Muskogee and back at East Central when he was there. You know, this is a new ball game. That's what we've stressed all week long. Sunday at 2 o'clock when we came in, let's put Choctaw to rest. It's time to move on. And what happened week 10 doesn't matter. And you know, and I talked to him about your goal was never, you know, we don't talk about this, but I could hear kids talking about it. Your goal was never to get back to the state championship. Your goal, you always said, was to win it again. So now you're here. Now you got to put the work in, and you got to realize that week 10 doesn't matter. Yeah, we've held them under 30 the last 2 times we played them, but man, that's tough. You know, Ficklin, he's special. He's really good, and you know, they're going to get back number 15, who's very talented. But you know, they're a really good football team. We got to approach it like, you know, we're both very familiar with each other, obviously, because we played each other twice in the last couple of years. But we got to approach it like it's a new ball game, and you know, we didn't win those ball games. We got to go fight and go win.
Defensively, you guys still employing a kind of a unique defensive style with a lot of different players coming from a lot of different angles. It's got to be tough for a high school team to be able to try to recognize where the pressure might come from.
You know, that's one of the things when I got the job that was important to me is keep doing what we do on defense, and that stems from 2 weeks in spring ball and in fall camp, going against them every day and knowing how difficult that is for offensive linemen to pick up, you know, their blocks and do the things they're doing, and also for quarterbacks because you got guys in your face standing up, running around, and DBs or maybe lined up 5 across. Everybody might be lined up at 5 yards across. But so I knew how difficult it was just because I face it in practice every day. So it was important to me to keep that scheme. And our coaches have done a good job rolling with it.
All right, where are we going to eat if I come to Stillwater? I've got a lot more caps in Stillwater than I do in Muskogee.
Well, there's a lot of places, but man, I guess you got to go have the cheese fries, right? I mean,
I think so. Yeah, no, there's nothing better than that.
I mean,
I
you come
agree.
to Stillwater. I mean, my daughter still think that's every time you got a birthday, you got to get some cheese fries and a milkshake. So you got to go to Eskimo Joe's, I guess.
I think that the shredded beef burrito at Mexico Joe's is also a pretty good option. So
Yeah, Mexico Joe's, that's a pretty good option. They got some barbecue fajitas that are pretty good. So, those
I'm
two
in.
places are pretty good and treated Stillwater well.
Well, congratulations on making the transition from the OC to the head coach, Chad, and being in the finals, and wish you guys the best of luck this weekend against Muskogee.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for supporting Stillwater football.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Chad Kaywood, head coach at Stillwater Pioneers, trying to go back-to-back as a 6A to Division II state champs. All right, we're going down to Class 5A right now, and this is the battle I think a lot of people have been talking about all week. We've got a final with 2 undefeated teams in it, Carl Albert and Del City. Robert Jones, head coach of the Del City Eagles. What up, Robert?
What's going on, Mark? How you doing? Thank you
Good.
for
How
having
are
me.
you?
Doing good, man. Just got out of practice and feeling pretty good about this week.
I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks, so tell me, you guys were able to put up a bunch of points on a Guthrie defense. I think scored 46 on a team that had only given up 54 previously in the entire season. Tell me about your game plan against them and what led you guys to be so successful.
Well, we just did what we did all year. We wanted to be balanced. We wanted to be able to run the ball. Regardless of who we play, you have to establish a run. That's our mentality. That's who we are. We knew they had a great front seven, but if you want to, if you think you're one of the better programs in the state, you think you're competing for a state championship like we are, you got to go try to establish the run. So I feel like if we establish the run, you can get those safeties playing up tight. And then we got some guys out wide with LaDainian Fields, Braylon Adama, he could play running back and receiver. And you got Shaden Green who could play both. You just got guys who can go up and get the ball. And you got guys who can beat man coverage. And then you got a running back like Rodney Fields and Braylon and even Rickland Holmes. So we're just well balanced, and that we're pretty tough to stop regardless of who your defense is and the style they play.
Health-wise, where are you?
Be healthy. We have everybody intact. You're going to have your end of the season kind of nicks and bruises and stuff that's kind of been giving people problems all year, but it's nothing outside of the ordinary. We're pretty healthy, and we've been blessed in that area this year.
What's the atmosphere like around the Middale District this week?
Well, it's just crazy because, I graduated from Carl Albert. So I got a lot of Carl Albert friends calling me, and they're ecstatic for me, but they're still cheering for CA. And, obviously I built a Del City family over here. So I grew up in Del City to like 6th grade. So I'm just a melting pot as far as Del City and Carl Albert. And then just you bring that element to where me and Dunn coached together for 9 years in Texas. We came to Del City together and kind of built this culture up, and I continue to build it up to different levels. But Del City wouldn't be here without Coach Dunn. That's what's crazy. So it's just a whole melting pot of emotions, and everybody's excited. And anytime you get 2 district schools playing each other, and you got all these families mixed up, it's just a fun atmosphere.
Now, how's Coach Rose handling this?
Man, he stands between. He coached at Del City for 26 years. So, he really does have some kids that he even coached some of those kids that played for the 1976 state championship team. And they still meet for dinner and they meet for lunch. So he has some mixed feelings about it. He said he's going to be happy regardless whoever wins. So it's a win-win situation for him.
Well, I know how much he respects both you and Mike, and I know that he will be smiling, and yet still as a coach, sometimes you kind of feel that, bittersweet feeling is that somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. And that's kind of rough either way. So, preparation wise, do you kind of worry a little bit about focus because, when kids leave, that these guys are they're around each other all the time. They know people on both, sides of this, that trying to keep that focus where, it's just a different game, another week, another opponent, even though it's so close.
Yeah, and I've been speaking a lot to the kids about that this week, just because everybody, you're going to have your family members saying you're going to beat them guys. They're going to compare the Guthrie scores and say this and that. I told them, hey, you're going to have to go out and win. You're going to have to play disciplined football. You're going to have to be able to run the ball. Obviously, we're going to have to be balanced in the pass game, so we're going to have to throw and catch. And then defensively, you got to go run and tackle. You got the best running back in the state. And then they have receivers out there who are committed to colleges, Power 5, OU. So you're going to have to be focused in. You're not going to just show up because people said you can win. And then you can't get caught up in the matchups. Like River can't get caught up in the matchup versus Spurrier. Rodney can't get in the matchup versus Xavier. And Day can't, LaDainian Fields can't get caught up in the matchup versus Trinae Washington or, all those guys. You can't get caught up in those matchups. You got to be able to stay focused. DeMarion can't get caught up in the Tristan Haynes matchup. You got to just go play football. It's just another team that you have to play in and get better effort that day. We always said we control what we can control. Like we got to control our effort and how hard we play, and we feel like that'll put us in a good situation.
You're making me fired up with all those matchups, man. I mean, is this the best? Is this the biggest game that you've ever coached in?
Yeah, I coached in the 4th round of Texas, and each round was amazing to see the type of athletes they have down there. So this game reminds me of all those games down in Texas. When you start getting in the 2nd and 3rd round, and we made it to the 4th round at Rockdale, which they won the state championship a couple years after we left. These are the kind of athletes you see, the offensive lines you see the good schemes on both sides of the ball as far as the productivity defensively and offensively. It's just a great matchup, and there's some great athletes there, and coaches as well, some great coaching matchups.
No question. You talked a lot about some of your skill players, and those guys don't get to run around a whole lot unless you got some big guys up front that are doing some good things. So tell me a little bit about your offensive and defensive lines. I know Aaron Carter is really, really good player on the defensive side of the ball. Seen him play a few times for you guys, and he is super tough.
All right, awesome. Yeah, Aaron's a great player. He's been a 3-year starter. He plays a little bit of Will Backer for us, a little bit of Mike. He's just been great. He started for 3 years, so he has that experience. He's played in a lot of big games around. Against Stillwater, the Choctaw. I can go on in the big games that him and Braylon Adama has played in. So he has a lot of experience. And starting up front with the defensive ends, we got Taven Johnson. He's a 2-year starter. He had 8 sacks last year. He's up to 14 this year. He's a good run stopper. He's just experienced. And then inside we got Bilyami Lewis, and he's every little bit of 280. And he's just a good player. He plays hard. He gives everything he has every play. And he's really grown and matured, not only on the football field, but in the classroom. Then you got Daryl Thomas. Obviously, he can play some B tackle, and he plays offensive line for us as well. Then you got Quaylen Goodman. He's our starting center, but he also plays nose tackle as well, because, I love to go both ways. And then you got Ryan Mukes and Travis Kelly. This has been the first year they really played at defensive end. But those guys have been getting in the scout team for 2 years, and they're just ready for that atmosphere. Then our linebacker crew, is pretty good. You got Rickland Holmes, you got Rodney Fields, even though we utilize him at running back, he's a great linebacker. Then you got Aaron, you got Aaron Carter. And then on the back end, you got LaDainian Fields. So those guys blended in with those offensive linemen and defensive linemen. It's just been a great mesh, just because those guys up front really don't get a lot of credit. But I'm telling you, they really have grown in the physical department, because I really challenged them in the offseason. And I said, you guys got to really, really get after this offseason, because I feel like that was the difference last year in the McAllister and Coweta game, was how they kind of controlled us in the trenches. And those guys accepted the challenge, and they've really been showing up this year.
All right, tell me why Oklahoma State's going to be the Big 12 champs.
Because I think you got the best running back. I think when you're in championship games, whichever running game kind of establishes themselves and kind of controls the game, it usually sets up the pass game, and they usually make more plays. And then, I think they got great turnovers, in key moments. And I think they're going to be able to stop the run game, and they're going to get picked off their quarterback a couple times to get extra possessions to Bowman. And I think it's a close one. I think it's going to be like 28-24. All
right, that would be good. All right, let's bring Dunn in. He's waiting here in queue. So I want to say this to both of you guys. It's gonna hurt my heart for one of you two guys to lose. Both of you all have been my favorites for a long period of time, going back to the day where we shot the cover for the Pigskin preview in the Carl Albert football field. So I'm really happy for you both to be here. So I can't have a favorite in this game. So we're just gonna have to let the chips fall where they may. So Robert, thanks for your time, man. We wish you luck.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. That Robert Jones, head coach at Del City. All right, Mike Dunn is next. He's the head coach at Carl Albert. Those guys, high school teammates, and as Robert said, coached together in Texas and coached together at Del City. So, what's it like for you this week?
Oh man, bittersweet. Just proud for the school district, proud for our kids, and happy for everybody that's involved. Those guys, they deserve success just like our kids deserve success. Coach Jones deserves the success. So. just proud of everybody involved. It takes a village on both sides, and it doesn't always work out like this. I think that the two best teams made it to the end, and it doesn't always work out like that. So I think that's a pretty cool deal, because you get everybody's best shot every week, and you're always living on the edge every week, and you get here and you can't relax because now you're playing the best team, and so I think it's a pretty special matchup, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Have you ever been on a high school field with more talent?
Man, I don't know. I mean, not as far as, Division I talent, and I don't think so. I mean, I remember down in Texas one year we played a team that had a lot of Division I talent. We played a Denton Ryan team that Spencer Sanders was playing on at the time, and they were way good. And so I don't think, though, from a both sides standpoint, I don't think so. This is pretty elite as far as that goes.
Yeah, I would think so. Same thing for that I asked Robert. Coach Rose, he's got to be incredibly proud of both of you guys, and I know he's got ties to both of those schools, and I know both of you are very, very close to him. So what's he had to say this week, and to kind of give you guidance along with Coach Jones?
Coach Rose, something he always tells me is he's told me this before, that he wishes he would have enjoyed those moments more. He was so in it at the time, and there were times that he was just deadlock focused on the wins that he didn't take time to enjoy it, and so that's something that I've always tried to do, is enjoy these moments. Now at this point, you get to this point and they're the last practices, so that's a feat in itself, that when it's the last week, because it's do or die in the playoffs. And so when you get here and you actually know that there is no more games after this, you can enjoy those last practices with your seniors. You can enjoy the last, we run fartleks on Tuesdays, we run the hill on Wednesday in our 14 sprints. And you can enjoy those things knowing they're the last one. And so I just, Coach Rose has always been a mentor to all of us that played for him. And I think that that's something that he would want from all of us, is to, take a little bit of time to smell the roses every once in a while and enjoy these moments with your kids.
You guys relatively healthy?
We are. Yeah. This time of year, if you got all guys going, I think that's as good as you can ask. So yeah, we're pretty healthy.
And talk to me a little bit about Kevin Sperry, what he's brought to the program this year. I know you've been good at quarterback and felt like you were going to be good at quarterback this year if he had not moved in at that position. But tell me what Oklahoma fans who he's committed there in 2025 are going to see when he comes to campus.
Well, you're going to see a big time leader, big time human being. Kevin is as good as they come. He's got character. He's a leader. He's strong. He's tough. I mean, any of those characteristics, if someone throws out there about Kevin, it's going to be 100% spot on. The kid's just a stud. And from an athlete standpoint, there's nothing he can't do. He makes plays in practice sometimes. We're just like, there's nobody else. And he's done that in games too. He uncorked a couple balls last week that, in the air, 60 yards, and guys having to run as fast as they can to even get under it. And so he's special. I mean, it's a different breed. You find out real fast what makes somebody a 4-star quarterback whenever you watch the ball come out of his hands. And he's a runner too. He's a dual threat guy. We haven't had to use him much in that regard, but he's a guy that can hurt you in a lot of different ways. And he'll do special things at the next level just because he's got the will. I mean, that kid's got just miles and miles of heart, and I think that's what you really need from your trigger man.
A good week for your old roommate, Jeff Lebby. He's now the head coach at Mississippi State. Have you had a chance to talk to Jeff?
Yeah, we've talked a few times. Just really happy for him and Staley and Cora and Kane, the kids. Just a really cool deal. I remember talking to him a few years ago, and he was up for the UCF job, and we thought, then man, that'd be a really good first head job. And then, 2-3 years later, he's at an SEC school, and so that's for a first time head job. That's about as big as it gets. And so really happy for him, really happy for Starkville. They're fixing to get a big time coach and a big time man. And I think he's going to do some really good things there.
I talked to the Class C coaches, Ryan and Tipton. They're quite a ways away from Edmond, or they're playing in Bethany, but still a little bit of the same thing. You guys don't have to go very far, about a 15-minute drive, if that. So what are the logistics around the game coming up?
Oh, well, we'll get up and we'll do a breakfast in the morning, get our kids up and moving around and try to get the blood flowing a little bit early. And we'll do breakfast. We'll do our walkthrough stuff and we'll do our meetings. And then we'll we'll get our stuff and we'll get on the bus. We'll leave at probably around 10:25, and they do us every time that we've played in a state championship. They do a send off. The school, the community, the fans, parents, they do a send off from the McDonald's at 29th and Douglas. So that's been a thing since when me and Robert, Coach Jones, were playing. We'd always drive by and police escort goes through and they go real slow and you get to see all your fans and your family. And so we'll do that again and then jump right there on I-35 and head that way.
I'd sneak in there and I'd do the 2 for $3. I would get the sausage McMuffin that doesn't have the egg on it, and then the sausage biscuit. So you get a little bit of everything, and then you should be primed. That should be digested by the time the nerves really start heating up in the afternoon.
Be good to go. You'd be rocking and rolling all cylinders, no doubt.
Well, like I said, I think this is one of the most anticipated high school football games we've had in Oklahoma in a long time. It's going to go down in history, I think, as a great one. And congratulations on the great season so far, and good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I appreciate everything you do for everybody in Oklahoma high school football, brother.
All right, good to talk to you. Thank you for the time. I know you guys are busy this week.
Right.
Mike Dunn at Carl Albert, 13-0. And again, those two guys were played together in high school, both outstanding players, and both have incredible teams this year. Two of the most talented teams that we've seen, I think, in the Class 5A ranks in a long time, really for any class, with all of the Division I talent that are on either sideline. So let's take a look at the 4A bracket before we visit with each of the head coaches here in Class 4A. Always a very competitive class. The Wagner Bulldogs have been just awesome. They are here to defend their state championship that they won a year ago. Coach Dale Condit has won a bunch of them at Wagner. And these are the two longest tenured head coaches in the class at each of their schools. 19 years for Coach Condit, 17 years for Coach Craig at their same school. So this is another classic matchup that you have between a couple of veterans on either sideline. Let's bring in Jeff Craig, the head coach at Blanchard. And last week we had a blowout. I won't lie. Coach Jones and I were calling the Fairview Stroud game, and there were some turnovers in that one, and Fairview got out ahead pretty good. So I just pulled up the old Squirtle and went to see the Lions go up against the Pirates, and that looked like that was a really physical, good, hard-hitting high school football game.
Yeah, it was very physical, and that we knew that was going to be their MO coming in, and they wanted to, and they've done it for years. And they out physical you and take you to task, and so we knew we had to be ready for that. It's kind of one of those deals. You're going to step in the ring, you got to get ready to take a punch. And I thought our guys took a punch and punched back, and we were fortunate enough to come out on the top at the end of that one.
Big momentum play, though, at the beginning of the second half. You got Reagan Palmer, who I think's been hurt this year a little bit, and he takes a kick to the house. That is always a huge momentum play. Tell us about how that developed, and what do you guys work on with kick return during the season?
Well, that was, there was actually, we had fumbled a punt in the second quarter there, late in the second quarter, and our defense actually had a goal line stand, and we held them at 4th and 1 at the 1 yard line, and that was huge to keep the game 7-6, and then we knew we were getting the ball in the second half, but it's one of those deals. Coach Blackburn does a really good job with our kickoff return team, and it really puts a lot of time and effort into it. You hope to not do it very many times, but how many times have those plays been huge? And we're down 7-6 and come out second half, and they kick off. And the first kickoff we had, I noticed on film when I was watching with the guys that they had 7 guys running free, or we had 7 guys not blocking somebody, that were not on somebody. But the second time we ran it, we only had 2 guys that were not on somebody. We did a great job of sealing a lane for Reagan, and Reagan has tremendous speed, and it's just such a pleasure to have him back. Like you said, he had been out all year, really since week 1. Used him sparingly in the playoffs, but we had him full bore Friday, and for him to take one back to the house and give us the lead that we never gave up. That was just a tremendous swing and momentum, and everything just kind of went to our side after that.
You got a Division I player on your interior, Ross Johnston. I would assume that he was pretty big in that goal line stand and helping you guys do everything that you like to do on offense.
Yeah, Ross was, it was the good thing about it for us. that's helped us. That helped us this year playing Poto, which is, you know, with what they do, you don't really have a chance to flip and change sides, and you know, but having enough big guys, enough big bodies up inside to not worry about that. We were able to stick Ross over on their strong side. You know, they were very right-handed. We stuck Ross over on that side, left him over there, and tried to force them to do something they don't do. And but Ross held up his own right there. He's a big body. It's hard to move. He had a great game, you know, in terms of just really stuffing things up and not giving them a lot of alleys to run through. And our other guys did such a good job running to the football and being disciplined for 4 quarters. That was a huge factor, is the eye discipline and being disciplined with what they do to read your keys and fit in the right place and be in the right place. I thought our guys did a great job all night long.
Is this the most balanced team you've had? Carson Cooksey started for you guys for 3 years, but yet you still can be physical enough and run the ball when you need to.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, and that was one of the things that was coming into it. We really felt like we were probably going to be pass heavy, and we would try to establish enough of a run game to just keep people honest. And the great thing about it is our offensive line guys have really gelled, you know, down the stretch. And we've been able to really establish a really solid run game. And that has really made it's really made us tough to stop. And really, if we execute the things that we do with the skill guys that we've got on the edges, and then the ability to run the ball up inside with our offensive line, really producing some holes for our running backs. And, you know, we've been able to really turn the tide on that and become really a little bit more run heavy.
Edge players are really difficult to deal with in high school when you got a couple of good ones, and Wagner's got a couple good ones. They got 2 D1 guys. How do you plan, or how do you try to contend with their physical presence?
Well, yeah, you know, unless you have a 6'6" guy, it's kind of hard to match up with a 6'6" receiver. But you know, we've got some talented guys out there that you know, we're going to put out there, and we're going to go to work on that. Try to force them into some other things they don't like to do, but they're so balanced in the things they do. They do such a great job with their quarterback run game. And then as you know, they turn around and get you really stacking the box on him and really trying to stop those things. And then they turn around and you know, fling it to their receivers and also to their big tight end kid that, you know, the one's committed to OU, one's committed to Vanderbilt. So, you know, you got 2 Division I kids over there that it's going to be a tough matchup. But you know, we look forward to it. It's going to be a challenge, but you know, you wouldn't expect it any other way at this time of the year.
Now, if you weren't so good this year, you could have been in Hawaii last week, watching your daughter make the all-tournament team for the Northwestern Rangers out there. They're still undefeated this season. So, is she surpassed you as the top athlete in the family?
I'm going to give her the nod right now. I did have 2 all-conference deals, you know, in college, but she's really kind of surpassed me on that deal and kind of put me to shame now. She's still got 2 more years to go. So, you know, this year and next. So I think I'm going to give her the credit on that, as far as she's putting me down on that. But it would have been nice to have been in Hawaii, but I'll trade that for a state championship.
All right, that's a good choice. Okay, I need one favor before you go. Help me pick this Del City Carl Albert game. You got ties to both those places. So tell me, what do you think it's like for Coach Rose this week with those 2 guys?
Yeah, it's like having 2 kids. That's, you know, it's really like, for him, it's like 2 sons playing against each other. I mean, I don't know how you root for one and over the other. And so I know he's got a lot of tugging at his heart on both sides. And, you know, I know the one thing, and all I would say, I know Coach Rose just hopes that both teams play well. Somebody's got to win, but if they both play well and both leave it out there and on the field, and there's nothing else you can ask for. And it's going to be that's going to be an exciting game for sure. I know, like you said, I have ties to both programs and spent time there at both places, and excited for both of those guys, and happy for both of them, and happy for those programs, because it's been a long grind for Del City, but Coach Jones has done a good job with them. And boy, I wish I could go. I'm going to have to miss, though, because I got to go to Northwestern and watch a little Ranger basketball.
All right, text me your pick because I don't want to make a pick on this game.
Yeah, I don't. I'm gonna have to plead the fifth on that one. And
Okay.
I'll give you a text on that. We'll see what we can do.
That's what I want to. That's what I want to do as well. Jeff, congratulations on the season and good luck. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thanks a lot.
Jeff Craig, head coach at Blanchard. Let's bring in Dale Condit, who is the man he's going to be going up against coming up this weekend. Back in the state championship game, defending their 2022 state title. What's going on, Dale? How are you?
Doing great. Had a quick week. This Thursday's a little odd, so but we're ready to go.
I saw somebody today, I guess that, all week, and my weather bug app just went off, that expecting a lot of rain in the game tomorrow. So I hope it doesn't, but if it does, is that something that you have to kind of plan for a little bit? Does it potentially change your game plan? I watched that K-State, Iowa State game on Saturday night, and you can't tell if, it's maybe going to be a low scoring game. And then all of a sudden, the second play or first play of the game, guy goes 75 yards on a basically a blast play.
Yeah, I think you have to prepare at least mentally. We've talked to our players about it throughout the week because there is a forecast is pretty heavy for some rain. I think it could get a little windy. Of course, it's going to be cool, and we haven't played in that all year. And you try to figure out, well, whose advantage would that be, and you go back and forth. But and then sometimes, like you said, sometimes you're watching games and you'd think, the weather would cause it to be a little lower scoring, but then, people can slip and things can happen. And next thing you know, it's a shootout. So you just never know. It's a great part of the game of football, and you just have to deal with it and be prepared. And we're going to take a lot more footballs than we had planned on. And, got some people in place to try to keep them as dry as we can throughout the game.
You've got a lot of young players on this team. I know you've got a good core of seniors as well, but did this team perhaps get a little bit better earlier than you thought that they would? And that's going into winning the state championship because a lot of the same kids were contributors on that team a year ago there.
Yeah, I'd say, I felt like we had a good enough number back that we ought to be pretty good, pretty quick just because of the experience. I really feel like, we'd only seen glimpses of how good we could be throughout the season. And it's been until this playoff run that we've seen what the potential of our team is. We've had, a tremendous 3 weeks here that we've played at a really high level. And, I think that now we're seeing what, we were capable of from the get-go. And still yet, after tomorrow night, we'll still feel like we have quite a few of them coming back again next year. This junior class we have right now has been really good to us.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Zach Charbonneau had a really good game against Ada the other night. I know that they've got a pretty physical football team, but as a quarterback and a leader, how do you feel that he's played?
Oh, Kel's been tremendous all year. And we thought, late last season, he really started to come on at the quarterback spot. He's always, he played really well all last year at linebacker, but his ability to manage the game and he started making more plays with his feet late in the year last year. So going into this year, we had very high hopes for him, and he's lived up to those. He's passed for over 2,600 yards, and he's rushed for, over 800 yards, and, he's got 30 some odd touchdowns. But, you flip it around, he plays middle linebacker all night, and he's got over 100 tackles and 4 interceptions, a couple sacks. So he's our bell cow, and he's a big, strong kid, a great young man, and just a junior. So he's still got some ball left.
You can tell he's confident. I saw his interview after winning the game last week on the Tulsa World. He's got a pretty nice mullet going there with the side shaved. So I give that.
Yeah, he's a confident kid, but he works very hard and great teammate.
Tell me about Blanchard, what you've seen from them on film. They've got a veteran quarterback of their own in Carson Cooksey.
Yeah, Cooksey's he's the best quarterback we've faced all year. And he's got, what makes them a little different than a lot of the 4A teams we play is the number of receivers he can go to. Usually, you got one guy you can kind of focus in on, and then there's a second guy that's not bad. But they've got 4 guys right now that I feel like are all capable of making a play on any down. And he does a great job of distributing the ball to them. And then, if you get two geared up to stop the pass, he can still run the ball a little bit too. So it starts with him, but I think also they probably have the best offensive line we've seen all year, and that it starts with their big left tackle. That's I think he's committed to TU from what I've heard.
Right, that's right.
Ross Johnston, I think's his name, but a big guy that moves around really well, and then the other 4 guys in there with him are all really good too. So to me, that's probably the 2 biggest strengths I see. But one thing I've noticed over the years that we've been in 4A, or we've had Blanchard in 4A with us, is they always play good defense. It always seems like their scores are they don't let people score a lot of points, and that's been consistent for them. It seems like over the years. So I know Coach Craig well. He does a great job. He's a great man. So I know he'll have them as prepared as they can be, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Now, do they have room in a trophy case for you guys to win another one? That would be your 7th.
We will, if we run out of room, we'll build another one. Yeah, we'll squeeze it in. It is getting a little tight, but hey, would we have ever guessed, 15 years ago that this would be going on? Probably not. I had pretty high expectations, had pretty lofty goals going into this profession, but I'm living beyond the dream now. It's just been really surreal what we've been able to accomplish, and then some of the games we've been able to be a part of. There've been some wild ones that, fortunately we've turned out on the good side of most of the time. Not all the time, but a lot more times than not. We've been on the fun side of it, so it's been quite the ride for us.
You'd probably rather this game be decided a little earlier than last year's game was decided, right? Or do you want it to go down to the final buzzer?
Hey, if you have to go through it again, I would do it, but I would prefer not to. Yeah, that's maybe once in a career deal. It'd be fine with me, but it's a completely different feel this year going into the game. Last year it was like throw caution to the wind. We didn't feel like we had anything to lose. We were such a huge underdog, so it was a much more probably relaxed feel for at least the coaches going in. Like, we're just going to let it fly and see what happens. Whereas this year, I felt like going into the season, we should definitely be one of the teams in the hunt for it. And, you're a little more of a opportunity to go win is there this year than it was last year, just based on what the prediction was. And you can feel that a little bit and sense it a little bit, but different feel, but that's what makes this great. It's different every year. It's no matter where you're at in your program, it just seems like every year you have a different feel to how the season unfolds. And so, we'll roll out there, and with the weather and everything else that's going on, we'll see how it goes, but we're pretty excited about it.
230 wins at Wagner. That's probably almost half the wins the school's ever had, going back to 1944. You're getting pretty close to that.
I don't know, man. They tell me how many, and they start telling you that stuff, and it starts making me feel a little bit old.
Yeah, you're looking pretty good for a guy that's won 230 games at one school.
19? You said 19th year at Wagner, and man, I'm starting to coach my players' kids. They're rolling into the program now. They're 7th and 8th grade. Of course, I can see them coming all the way down to little bitty now. But it happens a lot quicker than I anticipated. That's for sure.
Well, I wish you good luck tomorrow, and I wish you get a good night of sleep. I mean, I'm sure you're ready to go right now. It's probably the toughest night of sleep maybe of the year.
Yeah, I was just telling my daughter that, you'd always wondered before I went to a championship, how do those guys sleep the night before a big game like that? And I don't know if it's something that kicks in or what, but I always sleep pretty good actually before the big games. So we'll see. I hope I didn't just jinx myself.
Yeah, you win 230 games at 6 titles. I'd sleep good too. Dale, thanks for your time. I know you guys are busy this week, and we appreciate it, and good luck.
Well, thanks, Mark, and thanks for all you do, man.
I appreciate it. Dale Conant, head coach at Wagner, going for state title number 7. All right, we have one more game to preview. That's a Class 3A game coming up between Heritage Hall and Lincoln Christian. Jerry Rickey, the head coach at Lincoln Christian, 6 consecutive years of double-digit wins. And this has become quite a rivalry. You guys and Heritage Hall have matched up in the playoffs. Didn't last year, but have for quite a few years before that in a row.
Yeah, it's a rivalry that we, have developed over the years, and they have a great program, and it's a program that, when I first started, it's something we wanted to be like. And so getting to play them in the playoffs is always a special game. It's always a close game, and so we're looking forward to the opportunity this Saturday.
Yeah, 74-6 for you guys in the last 6 years. You got a really good quarterback right now, Luke Milligan. But I want to know a little bit about Saturday night. Did you get a chance to watch Max Brown, who got the start for Florida against Florida State and has stepped in and done a really, really nice job for them?
We did. I got to watch. We watched with my family, and it was exciting. It's a lot harder to watch a kid when you're not on the sideline with them, and you feel nervous for him. But Max did a great job. They came up a little short, but I'm super proud of him. He represented our school well and himself and his family well.
And Milligan has stepped in right after he left and played for you guys and done an exceptional job.
Yeah, Luke's a program kid. He's in my oldest son's grade, so I've been fortunate to coach him since third grade, and we've had a good time together over the years. He's been our quarterback the last 2 years, stepped in, knows our system really well, understands what we're trying to do with all our checks, and just takes care of the football. And, he's a dynamic passer, and we're glad to have him.
Defensively last week, I know Perkins has got a really, really good running game, but you were able to hold them to only 2 pass completions the entire night. Did you guys feel like you came up with a really, really good scheme, and your kids must have gone out there and executed very well?
Yeah, our defensive coordinator, Jeff Comfort, and his staff, they did an excellent job just identifying what Perkins was trying to do. They stopped their big running back, the Stevenson kid. He's a really good player, and we did a really good job on him. But our defense, we tend to score a lot of points, and our defense goes it's a little bit underrated for us, but they've done a great job all year long. And they tackle the ball well, and they fly to the football and play with a relentless effort, all things that we teach, and just really proud of their effort last week.
You guys are a relatively new program as far as playing in the OSSAA, and have established a great tradition and a ton of success. What would you want the Lincoln Christian program to be most known for?
Well, we just want to be known for the way we treat our kids, the way our kids treat each other, and the relationships that we formed with them, and that we have a great culture, that we play hard. Our kids are relentless, and they're determined and play with grit, and that we, at the end of the day, win or lose, we're going to hold our heads high and represent our school and ourselves well.
Tell me about Heritage Hall. They've got a great team. Obviously, you guys, this is, again, I think just a fantastic championship matchup there. But Andy Bass, their quarterback, another guy that just compiles incredible numbers each week.
Well, it starts with him. I mean, he's a dynamic player. The offense runs through him. And as they've gone in the playoffs, you can tell that he's running the ball more. They're more comfortable as we get down here to the road to just give him the ball and keep it in his hands. He affects the game whether it's in his hands or not. You have to really pay attention to his reads and stuff like that. And so, but we're going to have our hands full with him, and they've got a good offensive line. I believe 3 of those guys have been playing for quite a while, and they've got a very capable defense that Coach Adams has been coaching for a long time, and they know what they're doing. They know what they want to do. And so we're going to have our hands full, but our kids are ready for the challenge. Like you said, there's some familiarity there. And so we'll just go out there and, be ready as we can and try to tackle their quarterback.
Now, I don't want to call them superstition necessarily, but do you have any routines that you adhere to on game day?
I really don't. I used to have some things like that, and like wearing the same pair of socks every Friday and stuff like that. But I've kind of gotten away from that. It turns out it wasn't really helping or hurting, so I just went away from anything like that. So
I think it's all in the belief. It's all in the belief. If you feel like you got a pair of lucky socks, then I think it's okay to wear the lucky socks.
I think that works for some people, yeah. And I thought it was the way you had to be for a while, but I've since gotten a little bit older and gotten away from that.
Well, congratulations on a great season, Jerry, and we wish you guys best of luck in the 3A championship coming up.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate what you guys are doing for high school sports, especially here in Oklahoma.
We'd love to do it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Jerry Ricky, the head coach of Lincoln Christian. All right, we have reached our final guest of the evening, of previewing the state championship games and the 6 classes that are decided this weekend. Brett Bogert from Heritage Hall. The Chargers are in the championship game after a wild win last week. So hold on. We don't have Brett yet. We'll get him in a second. Let's take a look at the 3A bracket, and we'll take a look at how the Chargers got to the championship game against the Bulldogs of Lincoln Christian. But the Chargers with a dramatic finish last week, I believe at Newcastle High School. Well, I'll tell you what, let's preview there we go. Corey's going fast on me. We could take a look at what the 2A semifinals are going to be like. But Lincoln Christian knocking off Sulphur and a very good Perkins team last week in a low-scoring game, and Heritage Hall and Marlowe, a classic last weekend that came down to the very final seconds. So let's bring in Brett. here. And what a game. You guys needed a field goal in the final seconds to win.
Yeah, it was a wild one. It was only the second field goal we kicked all year. 2 for 2, thank goodness. But yeah, I had a lot of faith, and it helps that his last name is Welker. Had a couple Welkers bang through a lot of field goals for us in the past. So trotting Welker out there with 4 seconds left to win it felt really good, and it was probably the best kick of his life. Just the sound of the ball off his foot, and it was right down the middle. Just an outstanding play. Great snap from Xavier Freeman. Great hold, Walker Nelson, and Cal Welker boots it through and sends us back to UCO. But couldn't be more proud of those guys.
When your uncle's an emergency kicker in the NFL, you feel like you can be a good emergency kicker if needed in high school. So, no, that's got to be a great special weapon that you feel like you can depend on if a game is close. Because in high school, I know a lot of coaches are pretty reluctant to go for a field goal.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, it was only our second one all year. We don't really like to kick them unless we absolutely have to, and there was really no choice. Maybe it was going to be Andy Bass quarterback draw from the 16, which is a low percentage play, even how good Andy's playing. But no, we knew we were going to drive down there. We spent some timeouts on their drive because I had a feeling Coach Weber would go for 2 if they got that tying or go ahead touchdown, and then they did and got that 29-28 lead. So fortunately, we called a couple timeouts to give us a minute 56. And Andy did a great job leading the team down there. The offensive line gave him tons of time. Made some great throws. Rashad Smith had a huge catch on a 4th and 10 to keep the drive alive. Carter Knowles had a huge catch on 4th and 11, I believe, to keep the drive going. And then, we got down there and it was time. We'd made the decision that we were going to kick it before we got down there. We took one last shot to Jordan Harris with 9 seconds left in the corner. Marlowe guy made a great play on it. And then we trotted the field goal unit out there and put it in their hands, or put it on Cal's foot, and Cal booted it through. Like I said, so proud of Cal. And I love it for him because, he's not just a kicker. Obviously, he plays all the positions, so he's used to the pressure of a big time game like that, and had a lot of faith in him going in there to make that one.
We know how good Andy Bass is. If you're watching this, I'm sure you probably know how good Andy Bass is as well. Of his incredible statistics for the last couple of seasons, and the game that he had last year in the state championship where you guys scored 72 points. But you just mentioned 5 or 6 different kids as part of those skill positions, and I know how important your offense and defensive lines are to you. But you have a lot of guys that can make plays when you need to, right?
Yeah, that's been huge for us. Not being able to key on Andy because, everyone knows Andy's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. There's no fooling anybody. I was watching Coach Ricky. He knows Andy's going to carry it a bunch of times on Saturday night. But yeah, having guys that can make plays when Andy, is on top of his game. He's reading, his reads are really good. He can get the ball out to space. Jordan Harris, Rashad Smith, Rhett Davis, Cal Welker, Boston Fuller, Gerard Williams, a lot of different guys that he can count on that have made big plays for us this year. And Jordan and Rashad are the top 2. I think Jordan has 44 catches for over 1,000 yards, and Rashad has 47 catches for just under 1,000 yards. I think Shad's got one more touchdown than him. So it's a good little competitive rivalry between them two, but it's great to have those guys to get the ball to, and for us to have a chance on Saturday night. Everybody's got to be involved. It can't just be Andy. There's no doubt about it.
Marlowe, they want to fight you in a phone booth, man. They've got that tight offensive formation and run the ball, but Lincoln Christian, they're going to spread you out. And so what is the transition from last week to this week? And do you prefer one style over the other?
It's definitely a complete clash of styles. And Coach Weber does a great job. The patience to be able to do that. They got the lead on us. They'd run the clock down to a couple seconds every snap they took. We only had the ball 3 times in the first half, and that gets frustrating because you feel like when you do get the ball, you have to score and you have to press a little bit. Our defense is just, like you said, banging our head against the wall every single play. I think Lincoln Christian's style fits our defensive style better. But they're both those teams are extremely, extremely good, extremely well coached. I don't know if I'd prefer one or the other. I'm just happy to be playing on Saturday night. I know Coach Adams has those guys ready to go. I've had a great week of practice so far, so hopefully they'll be flying around and making some tackles in space. It'll let our speed help a little bit more than just our linebackers and small DBs banging their heads in there against those big boys from Marlowe.
I'll tell you one of the more ignorant moments of my broadcasting career, where there's been a few. But this one was, you guys, I think, are playing them in Stillwater in the championship game. And I'm like, what is Heritage Hall doing here? Are they going to line up? Are they going to try to kick a 58-yard field goal or something like that? I'm like, oh, whatever. And then so McLaughlin trots out there and drills it right before halftime. And so I'm like, yeah, I guess they got a guy that can do that. So it's not always been where you had an emergency kicker.
No, that's it just so helps that that guy, he just got done winning the tier of the MLS. They, as the captain of North Carolina, they just won their championship. So having a guy that goes on to play professional soccer, being able to boot a 50-something yarder in a state championship is definitely a luxury. I don't think Cal will be doing that, but he's nails. If we need him again, we trust him to make a big one. Maybe not quite 50-something.
Is this a rivalry to you guys? I mean, they're the top school in Tulsa, private school in this class. You guys are here in Oklahoma City, and it's a 3-3 all time. So the winner here takes some bragging rights.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. I think it's a rivalry with a ton of respect, ton of mutual respect. They do an excellent job. But yeah, when you play, the only times we've played them have been in a semifinal or state final. So every time we've played them, I mean, this game means a ton. So yeah, I guess you could call it a rivalry. But like I said, have a ton of respect for Coach Ricky, his staff, what they're able to do just year in and year out. They're able to morph. Like I heard you guys talking about Max Brown, different styles of offense, a different quarterback has a different skill set. But they do such a good job of molding their offense to their players. But yeah, I mean, I guess it could be a rivalry, and hopefully we can take a lead back. They've got us 3 times in a row. So we definitely feel like we owe them one, but we've got to play our absolute best football on Saturday night to get another one.
All right, I'm in my kitchen. I assume you're not in your kitchen because there's a copier behind you. Are you going to go Bill Snyder and stay in the office tonight, or are you going to go home at some point?
No, I figured I'd stay at the office tonight for this interview just to keep the dogs at home. They'd be wanting to get in on this interview, so I figured I'd better keep it safe and do it up at the office. But no, I'm right after this. I'm going home, eating some dinner, and laying low.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us. I got a cat that likes to get in the picture every once in a while, but it's been pretty good tonight. So, Brett, thanks for your time and continued success and good luck in the game this week.
I appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks for having me on. Always enjoy it.
Good to talk to you. Thanks, Brett.
You too.
Brett Pogert, Heritage Hall against Lincoln Christian. Hope you guys have enjoyed the state championship show. And I want to say special thanks to everybody that joined tonight. All of the high school coaches of the 12 different teams are going to be competing for state championships. And these guys deserve a ton of credit for the great jobs that they've done this year. If your team is still playing at this time in the season, you can count on the fact that they've got a really good coach that's done a great job of coaching the kids to get to this point. So I want to thank Corey Rogers for producing this and wish everybody great luck in bringing home the gold ball this weekend and success to the teams that end up with the silver ball on great seasons as well. We'll see you down the road here on Squirtle.